And we would like to welcome in a very special guest now, Andrea Danner.
Correct.
Whose son Nick, 25 years old, and has been. But why don't you just tell us a little bit about Nick?
Okay. Nick was diagnosed right before his 12th birthday with an astrocytoma that was in the center of his spinal cord. So the astrocytoma is a type of tumor that's a childhood tumor. While not all that super rare, the location of the tumor in the center of Nick's spinal cord was extremely rare. And Nick started exhibiting some symptoms just a couple weeks before Christmas where he was kind of weak and stiff neck and just overall feeling crummy. And he was like this for about a week and a half, and so we took him to his pediatrician here in town, and they thought, Nick, you're an active kid, you play soccer, you play basketball, maybe you pulled something, so you need to lay off of that for a little while, and we'll give you some anti-inflammatories, and let's see how you do in a few days, and in a week, and we'll take it from there. After he wasn't better, after a week, we went back, and, they said, and Nick had become more weak and more stiff-necked, and so they said, something's not right, and we're really concerned. So they did an MRI, and the MRI showed, something in his spinal cord, but they really weren't sure what it was. So they said, we need to really do a biopsy to figure this out. So they sent us to St. Louis about 3 weeks later, and at that time, Nick was really having a hard time with the stiff neck, and so he was on morphine and Valium and all kinds of meds just to help alleviate some of the pain. And so they did a biopsy, and that's when they diagnosed the astrocytoma. And they pretty much said, gosh, we're not quite sure what to do with this. This is very rare, and it's very invasive. It's in a huge area of his spinal cord, and, let us try to figure this out. So I'm like,
comforting words.
Yeah, I was going to say, you didn't see her reaction when she said that as she rolls her eyes.
Yeah, and, I'm a clinician by trade, so I went to work right away to try to find, who may have some experience in treating astrocytomas and where they might be. And and through that research and through a couple other recommendations, I found St. Jude. And I called and said, okay, here's my situation with my son. Can you help us? And they're like, yes, please bring him down right away so we can do an evaluation. So within a week, we were at St. Jude at one of the surgeons that's affiliated with St. Jude, and did a series of MRIs and tests, and, they said, we think we can get this tumor. So we need to schedule this right away because Nick's becoming more debilitated in his movement daily. So, like a week later, we're back at St. Jude and for an 11-and-a-half-hour surgery. So Nick had his surgery, and he did very well. They had a huge team of physicians and assistants and nurses with that whole procedure. And about a week later, Nick came home feeling much better and kind of trying to carry on with his life. And then probably close to a year later, they discovered little bits and pieces of a tumor in the similar area where it was before, and they said, we really think radiation needs to happen to help alleviate whatever little bits and pieces may be still left.
Now, how old is he at this point?
At 13.
At 13. Okay.
Yes, and so we said, okay, so 8 weeks we're down at St. Jude for radiation treatments. Very interesting. We stayed at Ronald McDonald House, and it's specifically for St. Jude families and the patients. And it was a wonderful experience, as in we got to communicate and talk to other parents and families that were also experiencing, sickness with their children, devastating illnesses. And, you don't feel so isolated, like, am I the only one out here who really understands, how difficult this is to not know what the outcome for the future is going to be for your child.
Yeah.
So we did, with families, assistance and support, we did 8 weeks of radiation. And then about a month and a half after we graduated, they found another new tumor. They're not sure if it was another piece that they just couldn't see before, or if it was something that was a reoccurrence. But nonetheless, you know, the outlook was, let's watch it, but that tumor is there, and so we will probably have to do something with it. So they said, you know, go ahead and carry on with your life. And so Nick started his freshman year at Edwardsville at SIUE, and we came home during the Christmas holidays to St. Jude, and they said, you know, it's growing, not good, time to think about surgery. And you know, of course, you know, you're devastated, you're disappointed, you're in disbelief, you know, there's all kinds of issues and all kinds of crazy things going through your mind. And so we went back in May, and Nick had the surgery. It was tough that last time because, you know, like I said, you really think you're over the hump and you've really gotten through, you know, all of this, and you're done. And, you know, you're in this stable disease state and it's never going to change. But it did. And so now he's still being followed up. We go once a year now. And he's been in stable disease for about 5 years now. So, but St. Jude, again, we go every year, and he's 25 years old. So, and they'll continue to follow him.
You would be, where do you think Nick would be without St. Jude?
I can testify totally that I'm not sure my son would be here without St. Jude. I think that they saved his life. The physicians and all the caregivers and everyone on the staff at St. Jude absolutely are devoted to caring and treating and curing every child that walks in that door. It's an amazing place. I've never paid a penny at St. Jude for any treatment, any surgeries, nothing.
All right. We'll give you one final request. If you could say anything to anyone who's sitting on the fence right now about becoming a partner in hope, donating St. Jude. You know, they hear these stories and they're still, well, it's not my kid. You know, it's not my kid. Why should I worry about something, you know, that doesn't affect me?
I suppose I could have said that when Nick was 10 also. Why doesn't, you know, it's not my kid, why it doesn't affect me? Why should I give? You never know when it could be your kid. You don't know when it could be your grandchild. You don't know when it could be your best friend's child. You don't know when it could be, you know, someone else in the family's child. And it's so important that you give, because St. Jude saved my child. I really believe that. And I believe that they will go on saving many, many more children. And their research that they perform and is unbelievable. And they're making strides in curing all kinds of childhood cancers every day. So please give, because you never know when it will be either your child or someone close to you's child that this could happen to.